Marley Bird YouTube channel brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. In this video, I will show you how to make the beautiful Playful penguin blanket. We will focus on the body of the blanket in this video, and if you take a look down here, you can see this beautiful stitch that gives a really great texture and is a lot of fun to make. It resembles the basket weave, only we're only working these 2 rows. Every 2 rows, we switch the direction, and it gives this really great texture to the blanket. The texture of this blanket is perfect for the baby. Whether you wrap them up in it or lay it out for a play mat for them to play on, they're going to enjoy rubbing their hands along the textured stitches. This pattern is a free pattern available on redheart.com. You can look in the video description below where you will find a link to the pattern. While you're down there, go ahead and smash this like button and let other people know you enjoyed this video. Once you have this free pattern, go ahead and gather some worsted weight yarn and your favorite hook, and we can jump in and learn how to make the stitch for this blanket. The instructions for the Playful penguin blanket say that you need to chain a total of 112 chains. The stitch multiple for this particular stitch pattern used in the blanket is a multiple of 10 plus 2. For the demonstration purposes of this video, I am going to chain a multiple of 10 plus 2. So I will chain 22 stitches. Let me show you how to do a slip knot and the chain. To do a slip knot, you will place the tail of your yarn in the palm of your hand. Take your working yarn, wrap around your forefinger and middle finger, and come back up. Once you come back up, cross over your yarn. Rotate your hand around, go underneath the front loop and grab the back loop and pull them off of your fingers. Now you have a slip knot. Place that slip knot directly onto your hook. Go ahead and pull the 2 tails apart down at the bottom to tighten it onto your hook. And now you will work a chain. To do a chain, you will take your hook and going from left to right, go around your yarn and then pull that yarn directly through the loop on your hook. Be sure not to tighten that loop after it's completed. You will do this a multiple of 10 times plus 2. If you are making the actual blanket, you want to chain 112. For the example here in the video, just as I mentioned, I will be chaining 22 stitches. The first part of the instructions tell us to do a double crochet in the 4th chain from hook. So you will yarn over your hook and counting the chains from your hook. You never count the loop on your hook. So we'll count 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th, so we will put our hook directly into that chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. So now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. This initial skipped 3 chains right here will count as a double crochet now and throughout. Now the instructions tell us that we are supposed to put a double crochet into each chain to the end of our row, and we will have a total of 110 chains. I will have a total of 20 chains by the end of my row, but you will have 110 if you're working on the actual blanket. Go ahead and continue on down the chains and work your double crochets. Once you've completed all the double crochets down the foundation chain, it's a good time for you to go back and recount your stitches to make sure you have the proper number of stitches. Don't forget that your initial chain 3 does count as a stitch, so when you're counting your stitches, make sure you count that stitch as 1. If you have the total of 110 stitches or whatever stitch multiple you are using, you're ready to move on to row 2. Now row 2 begins with a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I will turn my work after I do my chain 3. That is just a preference of mine. Whether the pattern says to turn and then do your chain 3 or do your chain 3 and turn, it really doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. I've done my chain 3 and this counts as a double crochet once again. Now I will put a double crochet in the next 4 stitches. I want to remember if this counts as a double crochet, that means it counts as the stitch completed on top of that double crochet from the row below. So I want to make sure I make my first double crochet in that next stitch over. I do not want to make it right there. I want to make it right here. So I will go in, around, and pull up a stitch, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. So that's 1. Yarn over your hook, go to the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Yarn over your hook, go into the next stitch, yarn over your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Yarn over your hook, go into the next stitch, yarn over your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over your hook, draw through 2, yarn over your hook, draw through 2. So we've just completed 4 double crochets, and don't forget that this initial chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Now we are going to move on, and we will do a front post double crochet around the next 5 stitches. A front post double crochet is completed around the post of the stitch from the row below. So it is a basic double crochet. However, where you place your hook when you complete the double crochet is very important. Let me show you. I've yarned over my hook, and what we are doing is we are working around the post of this stitch right here. If I were making a regular double crochet, I would be going into that stitch right there, correct? Well, what I want to do is I actually want to work around the post of that stitch. So the meat of the stitch that was completed. So I'm going to take my hook, I'm going in the right side of that post, going around the back of the post and coming up and out the left side. See how my hook is now behind that post? I will now yarn over my hook and then take my hook back that same path. So I'm going to come out the left, go back behind that post, and come back out the right. Now I have 3 loops on my hook, and I'm ready to complete this stitch just as if it was a normal double crochet. So I yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. I will do that again. So I yarn over my hook, come into the right side of the next stitch, around the back, and come out the left side. Yarn over my hook, come out the left side, around the back, come back out the right side. Yarn over my hook, draw through 2, yarn over my hook, draw through 2. We have to do this 3 more times, and it might be a little fiddly at first if this is the first time you've ever done post stitches, but I promise it becomes easier as you practice, okay? So don't get super frustrated. It'll make sense and become a little bit more consistent and even as you practice some more. So I've yarned over my hook. I'm coming in the right side of the post, around the post, and out the left. Yarn over my hook, come through the left, around the back, out the right. So I'm back up with 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. To do this 2 more times, so yarn over my hook, in the right side, around the back, out the left side, yarn over my hook, have my hook follow that same path back, have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. One more time, yarn over my hook, go in the right side, around the back, out the left side, yarn over my hook, follow that same path, yarn over my hook, draw through 2, yarn over my hook, draw through 2. I've now completed 5 front post double crochets, and you will notice that they are a little squattier than the double crochets you first completed, and you will also notice that if I were to turn this around, you have kind of a ridge happening on the back side. It's perfectly normal. That is the nature of post stitches. So this is where we want to create those post stitches. So we've just done 5 front post double crochets in those 5 stitches. We will do a double crochet, just a regular double crochet, in the next 5 stitches. So I yarn over my hook, go into the next stitch, and this one I'm not going around the post, I'm going into the stitch just like I normally would under both loops, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. I'm going to do that a total of 5 times. I'm going to speed it up here a little bit since you already know how to do double crochets. I just need to get a total of 5 of them over here. So there is 4, and this will be my 5th one. Once I have done that, I will now go ahead and I will double crochet front post, so I will front post double crochet in the next 5 stitches. Just so that we're clear, this is our repeat. These 5 double crochets and then 5 front post double crochets. So that gives us our total of 10 stitches, which is our multiple. Remember, our multiple is 10. So as you're working across your 110 stitches, that is what you're going to repeat. 5 double crochets, 5 front post double crochets for the entire row 2. So here I am, I'm at the next 5 stitches, and what's going to be interesting here is our 5th stitch here is a chain 3. So I want to make sure I show you how you're going to work into that or around that for that post stitch. So I will yarn over my hook, going around the post once again. So I go in the right side, come out the left side, so I'm working the post, yarn over, follow the same path back, so I get to the 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. I will do that until I get over to the last stitch, which happens to be my chain 3 because it counts as a double crochet, and we are going to want to do a front post double crochet around it. So I'm in and around, come back out. You can see it becomes a lot easier with practice. So here I am, I'm to the last chain 3 here, and we want to treat it just as a post stitch. So I am just going to go around it like I normally would. So I went in the right side, out the left side, yarn over, follow that same path, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. So that would complete my entire stitch. That's the end of row 2. Let's move on to row 3. You'll see in the pattern that it has you turn and then do chain 3, but I'm going to chain 3 and then turn. Once again, it's just a personal preference of mine. For row 3, we will begin with a double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So remember, this initial chain 3 counts as a stitch, so we will not put a stitch into this first space. We want to skip over to that next space. So I'm going to do a double crochet right there. So there's 1 double crochet. Now I need to do 3 more of them for a total of 4 double crochets completed, and we will include our 3 chains to make up our total of 5 double crochets for our stitch multiple. Once I've done that, so I have my chain 3 and here's my 4 double crochets. Now the pattern wants me to do a back post double crochet around the next 5 stitches. So just as we did a front post double crochet, we will now do a back post double crochet. Still going around the post stitch, still doing a double crochet, but the way we put our hook around the post stitch is going to change slightly. What you will do is you'll yarn over your hook, and working around the post just like before, we will go from the back side now. We will come up the right side, over top of the post, and out the left side. Can you see here where it looks like my hook is just, it's on top of that post stitch, whereas before it was behind it? I will now yarn over my hook and then have my hook travel that same path back. So I'm coming out, come around and back up. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. I know this one seems a little tricky, but I promise you, you will get it. Yarn over your hook, and we're going to work around the next post stitch. So we're going to come from the back, we go up the right side, over top of the post, come out the left side. So now my hook is resting in the back. Yarn over, and then I'll have my hook come that same path. So I come out the left, I'm going to come over that top and come back out the right. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Let's do this again. Yarn over your hook, coming from the back, to the right side, over top of the post, left side. Yarn over your hook, have the hook go the same path, so I come out the left, I come over the top again, and I come back out the right side. Have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Yarn over your hook, go up, over top, and back. Yarn over, follow the same path back. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. How many is that? That's 4, so we have to do 1 more. Yarn over our hook, come up the right side, over top of the post, come out the left side. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Yarn over our hook, and then follow that same path back. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Now we're to our repeat, so we're going to yarn over and we will do a double crochet in the next 5 stitches. So there's 2 of those, 3 of those, 4 of those, and 5 of those. So just regular old double crochets, not going around the post or anything like that. We just work them right into the top of those stitches. Now we have to do our 5 back post double crochets once again. So I yarn over my hook. I will go from the back, so I come up the right side, over top of the post, back out the left side. Okay, so it's just like so. Yarn over my hook, have the hook come the same path back. So I have my 3 loops on hook, and then I just complete my double crochet. So yarn over, coming from the back side, follow the same path, and complete my double crochet. I'm trying to show you what it would look like in normal speed, so that way you can kind of get an idea that it goes really fast once you get some practice. Give yourself some time and some patience. It does take a little bit of time to get this one to work out. Just play around with it. It's good if you're working up a little swatch like my size, because it'll give you time to play with it. I'm at the last chain 3 where I need to do a back post double crochet. So I yarn over my hook, come from the back side and come around, grab my yarn, follow the same path back, and then work my double crochet. If I set this down, you can see these ridges that were created when we did the front post double crochet. Remember when I turned it over and I showed you? They are showing up on this side of the fabric. And then when we did our back post double crochet working along, it also put those ridges on this side of the fabric. Those ridges are actually the top of the stitch that you normally work into, but because we weren't working into them, we were working around the post, that kicks the top ridge to the opposite side when you're doing a front post, and it kicks it towards you when you're doing a back post. So as we look at the fabric, we get these really great ridges happening because of the post stitches. For this pattern, you will repeat rows 2 and 3 until the blanket measures your specified measurement or until it measures 32 inches. At that time, you will just finish off your work and it'll be time to move on to the border. I'm going to set this aside, and I've already worked up a larger size portion of this, and I'm going to show you how you will do a single crochet border. The border of this blanket is made up of single crochets, but it's important for you to understand where you will do your initial single crochets the first round and where you will increase at the corners for the subsequent rounds. Let's take a look at the actual sample. As you take a look down here at the sample, you can see the beautiful ridges like we just learned to make in the previous part of this video. And then down here, you can see where the single crochets are working together to create this really great border. You will do a couple rows of single crochets in your main body color, then you'll switch to 1 row in an accent color, and then 2 rows in a following accent color. The only difference between the first row and the last row, obviously, are the number of stitches and where you're going to place those stitches. The very first row, we have to work stitches into the body of the actual blanket, and that can seem a little tricky if you aren't sure what to do, but I'm going to show you how to do that. The second thing is, as you create the corner stitches here, in order for the blanket to lay flat and not cup in on itself, you need to increase at this corner by 3 stitches. So at the center stitch every round, you'll do 3 stitches in that center stitch instead of just 1. And that's what allows the blanket to lay nice and flat. Let's go ahead and learn how to do the first round of the border. The border instructions have you start with the right side of the blanket facing you, and the right side is actually the side with all of these ridges. You'll notice that the opposite side is nice and smooth, but the side with all of the ridges, that's the side we want to be the right side or the public side of your work. The instructions then say it wants you to join with a single crochet to any stitch in the center of the very last row. So I'm going to use an alternate color yarn, and we will start by placing a slip knot directly onto your hook. Once you've placed that slip knot onto your hook, you will then insert your hook somewhere relatively in the center of your blanket. So I'm just going to pick a spot. I'm going to pick a spot right there. Okay? And then you will yarn over your hook and pull up a loop. You'll notice at this point, this resembles the start of a single crochet because you have 2 loops on your hook. You'll notice also I'm holding the tail pretty taut so that way it can have a very little stretch. All I will do now is yarn over my hook and complete the single crochet just as if this were started with the regular single crochet. And that's how you would start with a single crochet. Once you've started with that single crochet, you will then single crochet across to the corner stitch. When you get to that corner stitch, you will place 3 single crochets in that corner. Well, here at the beginning, it's really easy because we can do a single crochet in each stitch all the way across. We don't have to guess where our stitches are going, correct? Because our stitches are worked into the top of the stitches that are already there. So as I work across, working just regular single crochets, and you don't have to change colors at this point. I'm using a different color so that you can see the stitches that I'm newly creating. And I'm coming over here and I'm to the corner. And when I get to this corner, I actually want to place 3 single crochets into this corner, okay? So there was 1, here's 2, and then here's 3. Now I've been working across just like this. I will now turn my work and I would work around the edge of the stitches of the blanket. Okay, so I'm working along the end of the rows. At the end of the rows, you will single crochet evenly spaced across this entire row to the next corner, and then you'll do 3 stitches in that corner. What I like to do is I would just kind of space through here and kind of get a good rhythm. So I might say, okay, in every chain 3 turn space, I get 2 single crochets, and then in each double crochet at the end, maybe I get 2 single crochets there. It might be that you need to do 2 single crochets and then 3 single crochets, or whatever it may be. Just keep it consistent and keep it even. It's really good at this point too if you make note of how many stitches you put at the end of each row. So maybe at the end of row 2 you put 2 stitches, at the end of row 3 you put 3 stitches, whatever it may be, I don't know. But if you make note of that, when you get to the opposite side of the blanket and you have to work up those side stitches, you can keep it consistent with what you did before, and that will be helpful. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside real quick, and I'm going to bring in one that is a little bit larger and worked further along, and I want to give you a little tip here. So you can see right here, this is where I started with my single crochet, just like I did in the previous example. And as I worked across and I got to the corner, when I did 3 single crochets in this corner, I put a stitch marker in the center of those 3 single crochets. The reason I did that is because on my next round, when I come around, I will have to put 3 single crochets into that stitch. And now I know exactly where it is. I don't have to guess. And if I keep this stitch marker into the center stitch of those 3 single crochets for each subsequent border round, I will never have to wonder where that center stitch is. You'll also see that I was pretty consistent coming down the edge of my work here. When I did 3 single crochets into this corner, once again, I put a stitch marker, and then I turned my work. So I'm turning it. So now I'm literally working on the opposite side of my beginning foundation chain, working across. And this is where I wanted to show you how to do that. So on your beginning foundation chain, depending on how you worked your stitches into the chain, it really didn't matter how you worked them into it, but you will have a remaining loop, 1 or 2 loops remaining, okay? They're just kind of hanging out there. That is where you need to place the actual single crochet you will be making. So you'll notice I'm going right into my spare loop right here, and I'm just working my single crochet. Going into the spare loop, and working my single crochet. And I will do that all the way to the end, and just like before, I will put 3 single crochets in the corner. Now you'll notice here, I turned my hook and I kind of grabbed at that loop just like that. I used the sharp angle of the hook to grab the loop. I like to do that. It just makes it easier sometimes. I'm here at the end, and at the end here, this was my initial skip chain 3. So I can work right into the chain. I'm literally going right into the chain, and I will place my 3 single crochet right there. So there was 1 single crochet. There's 2. So let's take my marker. I'm going to put it at the top of that second one because that will be my second single crochet of the 3. And there's my 3rd. So now I have my single crochet marked for that corner. I turn my work and I can carry on keeping consistent my stitches along this edge all the way up to the corner and work just everything like normal up to that point as well. When I get up to this corner, all I would do is work my 3 single crochets there, mark the second one, come across, and I would join with a slip stitch into this first stitch right here. At the end of round 1 for the border, you will then have 4 corners that were marked if you used your stitch markers, and a multiple of stitches that is totally dependent on how many stitches you worked, okay? And it changes because of the number of stitches you might have put on the side of your blanket. For the next rounds, it's really easy. You're going to put a single crochet in the top of each single crochet, and at each marked corner, you will place 3 single crochets. Don't forget to move your stitch marker up so that it's in the next center stitch of that round. At the end of round 2, you will change colors for round 3, so you'll have 1 round of a different color for round 3. And then for round 4 and 5, you will change colors once again, and it will be your final round. So at the end, let's take a look at the sample once again. If I move stuff out of the way. You will have a lovely blanket with great texture. You will have 2 rounds in the same color as the body of your blanket, 1 round with a complementary color, and then 2 rounds with 1 more complementary color. And if you use those stitch markers, just as I told you to right here in this corner, every time you get to that corner stitch and put 3 stitches there, you will have a nice even corner that lays nice and flat and will be perfect for baby. Now you know how to make the blanket of the Playful Penguin blanket, and the only thing left to do is the penguin applique. If you want instructions for that, please go ahead and check out the video for the penguin applique, and all you will do is make the applique and stitch it directly onto this blanket. If the applique is not for you and you like the way the blanket looks as is, you can totally keep it just the way it is. Totally up to you. Hopefully you had a lot of fun working on this blanket, learning a new stitch, and adding a wonderful border. Come back here for more crochet and knitting instructions right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel, where you can always find the best tutorials that you need. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to smash that like button, and I will talk to you again soon. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns. Bye. Looking for more Marley Bird? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Click right down there and you will find more videos just like this teaching you how to knit or crochet, all brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. Go ahead, click away. Don't be shy. Don't forget to smash that like button.